Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. I welcome you all to this special session on how to prepare for history in the 90 days which are coming, technically 84 days. And the target prelims 2023 is part of a larger plan for you with regards to how to cover certain things. So this is the last session. We've already covered how polity, current affairs, economy, geography, and science and technology and environment ecology is covered. Today, we are going to talk about the 90-day strategy for history. History is one of the bigger chunks, 6 different subjects within history itself. And this is the end of the first phase, as we have discussed previously, of your larger target prelims 2023. So we are now done with phase 1, and we have 3 more phases lined up for you. From 9th March, we will enter into what is called the teaching phase of current affairs, which is that 400 plus topics have been chosen for you on the app. This was on YouTube. Now you have to go on the app, the BYJU'S Exam Prep app. And on the app, we will discuss for each and every subject, for example, 3 sessions for history, in which we'll discuss art and culture current affairs, and we'll teach. These are teaching sessions in which we will discuss these issues with you as much as coverage as possible. Thereafter, we'll be back on YouTube again with 25 to 30 questions in every session with regards to current affairs. Again, the same type of comprehensive coverage with regards to topics. So once you've learnt with us, we'll evaluate it here again. And then in the 4th phase, we'll go to all India mocks, and we will then have some mock discussions, which type of questions can come, what is the pattern, what is the larger preparation evaluation. So these are 4 phases which we planned, a very big comprehensive plan for you. So today is the last date. From 9th March, I expect to see you on the app itself. On the app, as I said, we'll be now going into the teaching sessions, and we will be discussing current affairs issues related to all the subjects, and we'll try to make sure that your preparation is as comprehensive as possible. And once you're ready with that, after 14th April, we'll do previous year questions and MCQs out of the same. So please note this, 4 phases, phase 1 is over, and let's now talk about history. So first what I'll do is I'll try to give you a larger understanding of how things are. Then I'll give you certain examples and then the strategy in the end. And over and above that, some questions I will take in the end as much as possible with regards to your basic doubts with what to do, what is the source, this and that. So how to approach history? Now previously history used to be generally a static topic. Static questions, static topics, you cover it and that's over. However, now there's a new trend, and this is an oxymoron in itself, dynamic history, which is that there is now a static portion. However, there's also a dynamic current affairs portion which has started to come, wherein current affairs is now dictating the questions which are coming from static, which is technically not just true for history, but for other subjects also, but was absent in history maybe 3-4 years back. Slowly but surely, history is also becoming dynamic, and therefore your preparation needs to be even more comprehensive. So the first point is very simply, there's a static portion, there's a dynamic portion, and the dynamic aspect here is how current affairs is talking about certain issues of static. Now, how we go about it is, first you understand what are the basic components of history. Once we understand the basic components, then we will see what are the important topics in each and every component itself, and then we will go to the strategy. So, history, unlike other subjects, is not 1, but actually 6 different topics. Ancient, medieval, modern, art and culture, post-independence, world history. Now, because we are talking about prelims and it is a prelims-oriented understanding, as of right now, you should not be doing post-independence or world history, because these 2 are mains specific areas. The questions from post-independence are mostly current affairs questions. We've never seen an explicit question out of post-independence. And world history is a properly GS paper 1 based concept. So here your task is reduced. You're not doing 6 but only 4 for the next 84 days. Which is ancient, medieval, modern, all Indian history, and thereafter art and culture, which is connected to ancient, medieval and modern. Now, one thing which a lot of students do, and I hope you haven't, is that you're just doing modern and art and culture. Because if you don't do ancient and medieval, then you will start to find art and culture a little bit difficult. Because art and culture does not exist in isolation. Rather, it is linked up with the foundation of ancient and medieval. If you understand the timelines of ancient and medieval, art and culture starts to make more sense, because there's a major disconnect which a lot of students start to develop with regards to art and culture, because they think that what is the period they're talking about. If I say Pallavan art, then it needs to make sense. So be it for prelims or be it for mains or generally for prelims, ancient, medieval, modern art and culture is a package together. So you're getting 20 to 25 questions out of this, and it's a package together because art and culture is not independent of any three. Art and culture is the same aspect of ancient, medieval and modern. Now with these four components, let us go further and analyze basically what are the basic components and what are the areas we need to concentrate on. So in the next 84 days, and if you've been preparing for the past 1 year, you would have realized that in ancient there are basically 7 major thematics. First basically is called prehistory. Thereafter Indus Valley civilization, sometimes clubbed with the Vedic period. Then comes the major 6th century BCE, Buddhism, Jainism. Thereafter Mahajanpadas. Once Mahajanpadas is over, now you go into the basic concept. Maurya, post-Maurya, Gupta, post-Gupta. Now these are basically the basic components of ancient, basic. Now obviously not all of them are important, because looking at the pattern, there is a pattern which emerges with regards to how ancient comes in the examination. 3 to 5 questions, 2 to 3 are always manageable. Now when we talk about prehistory, IVC, Vedic, out of this, the one which you concentrate on is first Indus Valley civilization, because it's one very favorite topic of UPSC itself. Then the most important theme becomes Buddhism, Jainism. There is no escaping that Buddhism, Jainism both is an art and culture topic also and is also an ancient topic. There is a limit to what you can learn. However, if you go with basic sects, if you learn Jain subsects, you will automatically be able to eliminate the Buddhist ones. If you are able to create a basic understanding of their philosophy, and if you're referring to any standard book, you will be easily able to eliminate the questions. One thing which a lot of students feel about is what to do with the literature questions. Even in that, what we saw the pattern was that the options were easy, and one basic elimination can get you the answer. Other than that, what UPSC tends to do is it asks questions out of areas where there are multiple dynasties. For example, post-Maurya and post-Gupta has now become a staple for UPSC, which is that they went into Mauryas in between, but what they're doing is they're asking post-Mauryas. For example, Sangam, they're asking Indo-Greeks, the Shungas, the Kushanas, the Satavahanas, and the Sakas. This is the all post-Mauryan period. In this, because there are multiple dynasties in the multiple timelines, putting them and knowing their basic sequence can help you. Generally, which being the Shunga, then the Indo-Greeks, the Shakas, thereafter the Kushanas in the north, and Kashangam polity and Satavahanas in the south. Then the next area where there's a lot of clutter is post-Gupta, where we saw a question in 2021 itself. Post-Gupta, there are multiple dynasties. Major one being Chalukyas, Pallavas, and Pushyabhuti Harshvardhan. However, they are going into Maitrakas, the Maukharis, the Varmans, the Kakatiyas, and they are moving into an area which is just between ancient and medieval, which is called tripartite struggle, Pala, Pratyahara, Rashtrakuta. So basically, what you need to do is you need to concentrate in these areas where there are multiple dynasties. An absolute concept-based question out of IVC or be it Buddhism, Jainism can be managed. However, when there are multiple political streams, it becomes important to discuss them and important to know them. Because Maurya in itself is one major chunk, Dhamma, Ashoka, and thereafter Gupta is one major chunk with regards to the Gupta politics itself. However, it is here where there is interaction between certain kingdoms and certain areas that the questions can be made. So, if you think like an examiner, it is harder to make a question out of, for example, Mauryas. To actually make it is easier to make a question out of post-Guptas. And that is why you are seeing a shift in the examination itself with regards to that. Now, obviously, this area is challenging because when there are multiple dynasties, there needs to be a multiple understanding itself. And what you need to do here is very simply, first plot them. First, plot them on a timeline so that basically you know the sequence. Because knowing the sequence is the first thing. Second is, you need to know each and every dynasty's main ruler. At least the main ruler. For example, I know Indo-Greeks, Menander. I know Rudradaman. I know the Pulkeshin II. I know Harshvardhan. I know basic. Narsimhavarman I, Narsimhavarman II. I know that. Basically, I know basic first important personalities. Then only move to the next set. Because a lot of students start to learn each and every name. No. Know the basic ones so that you can at least identify in the examination. So, ancient India, there are 4 spaces where we believe that there is importance and there will be a concentrated effort from the examiner and from you also, that you also concentrate and discuss these areas or try to cover these areas as much as possible in your preparation. And when we will doing the current affairs aspect, if there is anything in the news with regards to these 4 areas, we will as it is cover it in the phase 2 of this session. Now, ancient 3 to 5 questions, one question will always be tricky. That is standard 20% rule, that out of the 100 questions, 25 to 30 questions will always be optional level. Don't have to get up caught there, but you have to come a little bit down and rather make sure that the easy to moderate questions you are easily getting. Difficult question, don't get a negative there, you can move on. Nobody is telling you to take it on your ego to solve all the questions. Just simply have a very good strategy in which all difficult questions out of each and every subject is left out and you are securing that 120 which you need to go to the next stage. Thereafter, let's move to medieval. In medieval, there are lesser components but bigger periods. So you have what is called early medieval dynasties. Then we have what we call as Delhi Sultanate. Delhi Sultanate, Vijayanagara and Bahmani. Then Mughal India, Sikhism, Marathas, and one topic which is technically Bhakti and Sufi, but it is art and culture within medieval India. Now here, early medieval dynasties now become a major staple because here you have Pala, Pratyahara, Rashtrakuta and other configurations, and UPSC has now started to make sure that they ask one question from this area for sure. So you have to concentrate on the tripartite struggle, the politics of the advent of Turks, and more than that they have also moved into Delhi Sultanate with regards to Mongol politics. Mongol politics, who stopped whom, when did the Mongols come, Genghis Khan, Dawa Khan, Kutuluk Khwaja, Tamra Shirin, they are asking questions like this. Standard discussion in any book, standard discussion in classroom, but students leave these things out. Then in Delhi Sultanate, again, don't have to get caught up in the political story, have to concentrate on the market reforms, the 4 experiments, have to also understand the socio-cultural changes which are happening, which is going to be done in culture. Then the Cholas also come under this early medieval area. And here again it becomes important because the imperial Cholas, as they're called, are very important component of this story, where in Pala, Pratyahara, Rashtrakuta in north, Cholas are here in the early medieval period. Now, Vijayanagara, Bahmani, very rarely we've seen a question, but Vijayanagara from time to time, once in a blue moon, there is a question which is coming. Now, without saying, Mughal India becomes a major chunk, And again in Mughal India, basic sequences, Rajput policy, religious policy, Mansabdari, Jagirdari should be very clear. And you understand revenue policy terms. See, in medieval, terms become very important because they play with the terms quite a lot. And there are multiple terms over a long period of time, so it becomes equally important to understand. Marathas are also coming, and Bhakti Sufis now become a staple with regards to mains, but prelims question can be made. Now you will say, sir, you've technically said all of them are important, but that is a problem here because there are smaller themes, bigger periods. So in that sense, have to concentrate on early medieval, which is Pala, Pratyara, Rajputa and Cholas, and thereafter you have to go into Vijayanagara for sure. Let us see, Mongols have come twice. Go through the Mongol sections of Delhi Sultanate itself, and thereafter Marathas are going to become an important concept and area, both for modern India and medieval. Simple, again, know their basic timelines. Deccani Sultanates from time to time can be seen. However, no explicit question on them. No explicit question on them. So here you have to make sure that you concentrate on certain areas which are generally important for your preparation and don't have to go into micro details because it makes no sense. Further, now we come to modern, a major chunk from 3 to 5 to 5 to 10 questions. Now in modern India, there are multiple themes, but there's one theme which is very explicitly stated in the UPSC syllabus, national movement. So whilst you have the concept of advent, you have the concept of establishment, you have the concept of the expansion of Britishers, then you have the concept of socio-religious reform, then you have socio-religious reform, then you have education policy, then you have economic policy, thereafter peasant and tribal. Once peasant and tribal is done, 1857. Then we go into the national movement from 1885 to 1905, moderates, then 1905 to 1915, then 1915 to 30, then 1930 to 40, and then 40 to 47, giving India independence in 47. Now, generally this 1885 to 47 period is important. But if you have to cover certain areas, you have to do socio-religious reform, economic policy, and 1857 without fail. Without fail, these three areas you have to concentrate on. Because advent of Europeans, we have seen back-to-back 2 years questions have come. This is an area which they've picked up now with regards to Chickakol, the brooch questions which have come initially, St. Xavier and all. But the pattern should change a little bit, but if it does remain the same, we are already covering advent. So these are the areas out of which they're asking questions. Now when it comes to the basic period of the national movement, from the concept of 1885 to 1905, moderate politics, economic nationalism becomes important. 1905 to 1915, thereafter Swadeshi is there and till advent of Gandhi. This is again a period of flux, revolutionary activities, but here we cannot pinpoint anything. For example, revolutionaries question came. So you need to know Abhinav Bharat, you need to know Mitra Mela, you need to know Anusilan, you need to know Yugantar, you need to know HRA, HSRA. So here you have two areas, 15 to 30 and 05 to 15, in which there are revolutionary activities, Gadar, outside India. It's a lot of small themes, but easier to understand. But one major theme which actually runs through from 1773 to 1947 is constitutional history. So please make sure that your constitutional history is totally clear, from regulating to Pitt's India, to all charter acts, to Government of India, thereafter Indian Council 61, Indian Council 92, Morley Minto, Montague Claims Fort, and then 1935 Government of India Act. If they're asking basic provisions, it is something which you should know and is expected that you know it. So constitutional history runs through that area through that section, something important that you need to know. One question for sure is coming from constitutional history tangentially for sure. So in modern India, this area obviously is explicitly mentioned in the examination, which is the concept of national movement. So you cannot ignore it. Small events, their basic features become important. Indian Independence Act, add to it 1947, no issues. Now the basic point here, as I said, is here you can leave bigger chunks from company Raj, but from crown rule period you have no other option. So if you are leaving modern India major chunks, then there's a problem, because modern India 5 to 10 questions are there, generally helps you in mains also, but modern there's less scope of leaving. I cannot say that you leave national movement, that you leave any of these periods, but the questions are being made, and the good thing about this area is it is becoming more and more dynamic, in the sense that the dynamic portions are what are in the news. So we will help you in making sure that basically you know the basic people who are in the news. So personalities and things which were in the news we will cover with you. The trick for modern India is firstly to know the basic sequence. If you don't know the basic timeline, the basic sequence of modern India, then it is a problem. Because you need to know which comes first, NCM or CDM, and you need to have an understanding of these basic sequential understanding. Sequential understanding can generally help you in making sense of the question. Other than that, the tip is not to get caught up in years. If you will try to learn years, you will technically go mad. You have to create a certain sequence in your mind, which is not based on basic years, but on acronyms, or basically associating your understanding with the larger timeline. Because there are basically basic dates which everybody needs to know. 1915, 1909, 1908, 1907, 1931, you know that. 1919, these are basic dates. But what a lot of students do is they start to get caught up into social religious reform movement in dates. They start to learn the dates of peasant and tribal movement. They start to learn the dates. There you create a sequence in your mind. There's an acronym for everything. Even in the wars, there is a basic trick of learning them, that all of them are a sequence except for Mysore and Maratha. So basically, if you look at it, history is not about facts. When it comes to dates and places, it's about understanding the concept and creating a sequence. So you just need to create that understanding that chronologically you can link. If you know that Rowlett is first and non-cooperation is second, then it doesn't really matter if you know that it is 1919 and 1922. What really matters to me is that you're able to put them in a sequential understanding if they're coming in a chronological question. And that is why modern India, the preparation strategy is a little bit more comprehensive. Because here there is a lot of scope to ask questions, because there is a lot of sequential things. Simple area, that INA, Cabinet Mission, Waiver Plan and Indian Independence Act, basically they can play with the chronology. They can ask you very simple things here. So you need to make sure that certain mind maps are made and stop trying to complicate areas which are very sorted. Social Religious Reform Movement, person and the founder and the organization, basic idea is important. Peasant and tribal movement, what is it directed to is very important. But if you will try to learn their sequence, it will become problematic. It will become problematic. And again, for the purpose of the examination, wars. War treaty is standard thing. Again, you can make a trick for that. And the nitty-gritty of the story is something which you can little bit cover, but not everything. So here you have to know where to go into important areas and where not to. Where not to. So modern India that ways is one area where you have to actually concentrate on and is important also. Now comes art and culture. What everybody technically has this question inside you, I can feel it, is that what to do with art and culture. Now art and culture, what students basically do is that again get caught up into things which don't really have to be covered in that way. So when we talk about art and culture, there is major chunk called architecture. Then there's major chunk painting. Then there's sculpture. There are dances, music, theater. You have martial arts, puppetry, GI, tangible and intangible heritage. Thereafter, you have festivals. The list goes on. You can have law and culture, organizations. You can have folk art, folk music. I can make a long list. But what I want to tell you out of this basic list is that each and every list need not be learnt. See, first thing is art and culture is becoming dynamic. That somehow current affairs is now dictating what art and culture is coming. I'll show you the examples also. Here have philosophy, very important, Indian School of Philosophy, numismatics, foreign travelers, a lot of areas, science and technology. It's a long list. Now, see, I'll tell you what to not do. Not to do in the sense that what mistake you don't have to make. Now, for example, GI tags. There are 432 and every 6 months some are added more. Now, if you are trying to learn all 432, makes no sense. Because if you learn the recent one, it makes sense. Again, makes no sense to learn 432 GI. You understand the concept of GI? Makes sense. But learning 432 GIs makes no sense. Same way, folk art, folk music. It's a very long list. If you can learn the main ones, more than enough. Again, if you will try to go into folk dances, for example, there's a whole long list of dances. Here again, you need to know basic important ones which are linked to certain states. Architecture is something which you cannot leave. So I'll mark it. Architecture is something which you cannot leave. Painting, sculpture and dance. These are three what are called the big four. Big four you have to cover. Thereafter, theatre, martial arts, puppetry and these three are the easiest to learn because the list is not long. Be it theatre, be it martial arts, be it puppetry. Then one more mistake which a lot of students are doing is festivals. They start to learn each and every festival. You do the festivals which are in the news, which is my task to tell you once we go into phase 2. But also tribal festivals, northeastern festivals are important. Then, for example, you go into philosophy. Philosophy, you have to be very clear. You have to be very clear what are the basic components of the philosophy. Don't have to do it at a mains level, but have to understand basic understanding itself. Therefore, what you see here is there are two types of topics. One are conceptual, other are factual conceptual. When there is a conceptual, you need to understand why is Jahangir important, why is Akbar important. You need to understand what are the components of Nagara and Dravida. You also need to know the understanding of what are the classical dances. The 8 classical dances, basic states, but their basic characteristics should also be clear. But what UPSC is now started to do is that they're going into concepts. For example, cave architecture. When they're going to cave architecture and painting, they're trying to understand what is rock cut, what is structural. So you need to also be very, very clear about what is the concept behind it. Same type of area with regards to theatre, martial arts, puppetry, state and the art form is enough because they will most probably give it to you in a match the following question. So art and culture, certain areas need to be very clear conceptually and certain areas match the following or standard statement based state and art form questions are there. The trick is very simple. Don't run from it. If you are going to systematically cover it, there are not more than 55-60 facts. If you learn 2-3 each day, you will be easily able to repeat it 3 to 4 times before the examination. But that has to happen irrespective of anything. Because what students do is that they will, in the 3 months, study art and culture in the first 30 days and then sit. And then expect that after 60 days, they remember the art and culture aspects. No. All 90 days, irrespective of whatever subject you are covering, 15-20 minutes, 10 minutes at least, you are learning theatre, martial arts, puppetry, dances, what are called the factual portions. Because you cannot be expected, and it is a proven fact, human memory does not work without repetition. So revision is something you have to do irrespective of anything. And here the basic rule is, make sure that you are covering the factual along with the conceptual. If you will do it just 30 days before the examination, it is not going to work. If you do it in the first 30, it is again not going to work. You have to do it all 84 days which are available. Make sure that the factual questions you can do easily. Revision, I am giving you the strategy. Take out 10 minutes in the morning and evening, 15 minutes rule as I call it. Morning, evening, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. 3-4 facts, you will see it will start to come to you and you will start to increase your capacity of learning. But that has to happen irrespective of drought, flood and any form of distraction. You have to do it. So art and culture is not about, it's not a difficult topic. It needs only comprehensive coverage in the right way. So now we have covered the 4 topics which we need to cover for the examination. Now the question is what to do with regards to the strategy. Now, as I said, there's a new concept which has emerged which is called dynamic history. Which is that history should not be dynamic, but history is now becoming dynamic. And what we see is that though the static portion tells you what current affairs is important, now current affairs is dictating what static portion is relevant for the examination. Basically, they are actually contouring each other. You know, if you read the paper, what is necessary with regards to with regards to current affairs and static, and the current affairs portion is dictating the static. So static is telling you what current affairs is important. Current affairs is telling you what static is important. So very simply, the dynamic trend here is very simple, that you have to now be a little bit more attentive about art and culture current affairs. I'll demonstrate it to you. There are 2 examples from the Chaucer-Yorgini temple question to the Ramanuja temple question. Simply they picked it up from the newspaper and they were now asking you a question. As it is, Chaucer-Yorgini temple was in the news generally because of Central Vista scheme and the new parliament, but still it was in the news generally also. Same for Ramanuja. So we have enough evidence to say that history is becoming dynamic. Now the $1 million question is, why you are here, is what is going to be your strategy. Now the strategy is going to be twofold and then gets divided into certain components. 84 days are left. First, understand there are 2 basic portions, static and dynamic. Now what to do with the static? Static is basic books, basic things, standard things. You have to do this irrespective of anything. There's no escaping that fact. Now static portion, what you need is to understand the concepts. This will happen with regards to, for example, you need to understand Dhamma. You need to understand what is called the concept of land grant and the feudalistic tendencies. You have to understand Mansabdari. You have to understand Nayankara. You have to understand Ikta. You have to understand land revenue settlements. You have to understand the connection between land revenue, commercialization, deindustrialization, drain of wealth. You have to understand why is 1857 why a major moment. You have to understand why the British is doing something which is doing. What is diarchy? What is separate electorates? What is Cripps mission? What is August offer? These are the conceptual aspects. You have to cover it irrespective of anything. There's no escaping that. But there is also in each one of them, ancient, medieval, art and culture and modern India, certain facts which you need to revise every day. 84 days are there, 84 days of revision, which is that systematically divide a portion and cover it over a period of time. I have always argued that history is like a pizza. You don't fold the pizza and try to eat it, you will get choked. Rather, you divide the pizza into certain small slices. If you will divide it into smaller pieces, you will easily be able to digest it. So basically, there is a certain portion which students, what they do is, because of facts, they leave concepts. Because of concepts, they leave facts. However, simply, these 2 are together, which is when you are covering concepts, you also have to, irrespective, your day is for polity, your day is for geography, is for environment, whatever, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour maximum, have to be gone into systematically. Okay, I have to learn these many facts out of ancient, these many facts out of medieval, this from art and culture, this from modern India. Now I will cover it. I will learn 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4 every day, and that will help you in covering it. 84 days is enough, actually quite enough. Then dynamic portion is not that you start to learn the article itself. No, no, no. That portion tells you what to pay concentration in static. Basically, what static portion is relevant is taught through or is dictated through the dynamic portion. I'll give you an example for this, very simple. You do cave paintings? Yes, you do cave paintings. It's a static portion out of paintings of art and culture. However, in that theme, we generally cover Sita Vansal or Sitan Vansal as they're called. Now, because Sitan Vansal was in the news, I will go back to my painting chapter and now pay attention to Sitan Vansal. This is how it works. It's a feedback loop. The static interacts with the dynamic, and then the static has to be dictated by the dynamic. So the dynamic and the static interact with each other together. So the strategy is very simple. Divide your time judiciously. With the last session with regards to strategy, have a timetable, cannot be a rudderless ship. Simple point is that 84 days, 90 days, whatever days are left, you have to go for a certain set strategy. And that strategy is certain things for polity, for geography, for history, for every subject needs to be learned every day. And certain things need to be understood. So please divide your time in such a way that you understand the issues also, and the revision process does not stop. Please understand this point. Your revision should not stop irrespective of anything. And that is why now when we go into phase 2, we will now tell you these dynamic portions which will interact with the static, and now you will get an idea. Okay, this is what I have to cover irrespective of anything. This is what I have to cover irrespective of anything. So the second phase of our program is to technically identify issues. Third phase is, when you will also do it, is evaluation. Did you understand it? Did you have a better understanding of what we've done? That is why when we go into this third phase and the second phase, both have a purpose. It's a very well thought out program. Basically, today we finish the strategy period. Now from 9th March itself, we go into discussing the topics itself. And every day we are there with at least 5 to 10, 15, 20, as much as possible in that session. But remember, it is on the app. So you have to download the BYJU'S Exam Prep app. It is an app exclusive program. Thereafter, we will come back on YouTube and we will see 25 questions, 30 questions every day from each and every subject. Did you understand and were you listening? And thereafter, we'll go from previous year and generally discussing current affairs questions to mocks, full course mocks, so that we understand everything in a better way. So I hope that this strategy first made sense to everybody and you understand the larger perspective and larger concept. Do we understand that? If we understand that, then I can take questions from you, which is that what is the basic concept and what is the basic strategy. Generally, did you find it useful? Because that is the basic point. I'll be on the strategy page. Please try to understand this. You need just basically repetition of facts every day, irrespective of anything. Right? Okay. What are the average? Shashank is asking, what are the average amount of questions which come from history? 20 to 25. Internally 3 to 5, 3 to 5, 5 to 10, 5 to 10. So basically ancient, medieval 3 to 5, 3 to 5. Modern and art and culture 5 to 10, 5 to 10. Sir, old NCERT, new NCERT. Now Meghna, understand one thing. New NCERT you have to cover. If you have covered Bipin Chandra, Satish Chandra and R.S. Sharma, you have automatically covered the old NCERTs, because old NCERTs were republished by the publishers in the form of these books. So if you covered these books, you don't have to go to an old NCERT, but new NCERT box is very, very important. Personalities, Anjali, in modern India, we will have a session specifically for that. But generally, see, standard personalities, you obviously need to know who is Bhagat Singh. You need to know basic important personalities. Firoz Mehta, you need to know Birendra Kumar Ghosh, you need to know the personalities related to the HSRA. You need to know these things. But obscure personalities, we will try to cover it. Try to link personalities with the dynamic portion. Okay. Okay, Nikhil, don't try to chase questions. Never try to chase questions, because if you will try to do that, you will go down such a major path that you will be keep on looking for sources for certain questions. Never look at the previous year question paper and try to chase the pattern or the question itself. You do what you have to do, and then you make your residual knowledge, fundamental knowledge important. How to cover dynamic with static? Chandrabhau, you are doing static, we are doing dynamic with you. Together, we'll cover everything. Okay. It's very hard to remember all dates, events. How can I recall them? Babita, first point, I am not asking you to learn dates. Second point, if you will learn them today and expect them to be remembered after 5 days, nobody can remember. You have to revise, revise and revise. Make sure that you are basically revising over a period of time, and events should be learnt via sequence. There's a standard story, a lot of my students know it. Timelines help you. Try to revise through timelines. Juda, both are equally good. Be it Spectrum, be it Bipin Chandra. Bipin Chandra has its own importance. Spectrum has its own importance. Okay. Those 400 plus topics, CA plus your weekly example. Yes, Arjun, we have identified those 400 plus topics out of 6 different sources. The Hindu, the Indian Express, we've gone to Down to Earth, we have gone to Science Reporter, Yojana, Kurukshetra, everything. Juda, again, how much time? It's a good question. How much time should be there for history per day? Simple point is that you allocate at least 1.5 hours, 1 hour of conceptual, half hours of learning facts out of ancient medieval art and culture. Avron, no, that has a lot of mistakes also. Daniel, terms of medieval are actually given in Satish Chandra very well. You can check out the glossary also, and any standard book has all the terms. Swarnima, there are 2 ways to do it. You first learn, then evaluate. Don't do it the other way around, which is that you evaluate first and then learn. You are doing question papers, very good thing, but first learn what you have to learn. Static needs to be covered. Don't understand one thing. Until unless your static is hard, is small, is very, very strong, you can't cover dynamic, because dynamic is based on static only. Okay. Where to get dynamic topics, we are going to come with. Meet us on the app. All the dynamic portions, all the current affairs will be covered. 400 plus topics out of polity, economy, art and culture, modern India, everything. Okay. You have not studied modern India yet. You can complete it. You can complete it. Nobody is skipping nothing. If you really believe that you can skip ancient, medieval, art and culture, modern anywhere, then you are creating a roadblock for yourself. Don't try to skip any of these sections or any subject. Just try to make sure that you are able to learn basic facts. 2 to 3 questions can easily be done with basic. Don't chase the paper. Don't chase the hardest question. You do the easy to moderate question. Okay. That is enough. Bipin Chandra is enough, not an issue. NCERT Bipin Chandra, more than enough. Okay. See, brand. Previous year question, if you are solving and then you're saying that my preparation is done, then it's not done. Previous year questions tell you pattern. They give you guidance. You have to do mock tests. Which is the best source for Aditi? Which is the best source for art and culture? As much as we like it, we don't like it, Nitin Singhania. Because NCERT has a certain coverage, but the comprehensive coverage only is Nitin Singhania. How many subjects should we cover in one day to complete whole syllabus till examination? Naveen, you are talking about from scratch or for revision. If you're talking about from 0 to 100, that can also be done, but the intensity will be a little bit higher. And if it is basically syllabus revision, then it can be done much quicker. But the basic point is, if you are covering from 0 to 100, then you would need to not go day wise, you not go hour wise, day wise day you cover a certain subject. If it's revision, then day by day. Bipin Chandra, not an issue at all. Government skills will be covered. Sir, how to cover ancient medieval in 84 days? Pick up the standard book, NCERT, read it, mark the important aspects and write the important facts. Done. In history, which one to give first priority? Now, Sajan, any day, art and culture and modern India, first two priorities. But the problem is, if I say it like this, then what is going to happen is art and culture without ancient medieval will not make sense to you. So, ancient medieval, modern, then art and culture. Government skills will be covered. 400 plus CA, we are covering close to 1.5 years, 18 months. 18 months. Yes, Ranjan. Current affairs of art and culture will be covered by me only. Don't worry, phase 2. Don't worry. You start with us on 9th on the app, no issues at all. First you basically cover basic topics, then go to previous year, see what is the depth, and then again revise in the certain way. Okay. You can do it. Satish Chandra is also a very good book that way. Very book. Okay. So, thank you. All the best. I'll see you soon on the app with regards to current affairs for art and culture. And then again, here again in phase 3 with questions out of art and culture and then with mock. Remember this sequence. You have to be part of each one of it. It is connected to each other. So now we meet on the app. Thank you so much. Take care. Good night. I hope you found this session useful. Take care.